Just F it. Hi, I'm Romy, an identity coach helping others who struggle with their sexual identity and families of queer youth find their path of understanding and acceptance.
And I'm Carla, a mom empowerment coach empowering moms to own their new identities and motherhood journeys.
And together we are the EFF Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an F it moment. So here we go. Just F it. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It is Monday. Monday Madres, Mamacita Monday, Mompreneur Monday.
Mompreneur Mondays. Yeah.
What was your big one? Was that it?
Camaraderie Mondays.
Camaraderie Mondays, which I can never say. Yes, we are here. So, Carla, who are we?
We are the EFF Madres. I'm Carla. This is Romy. We're two moms. We're two best friends. We're two Latinas who had this big EFF moment over a year ago and started this podcast because of it. And it has definitely led us down an interesting journey of self-discovery and reflection. But the whole point of this is interviewing moms and moms supporting moms through these big F it moments, because there are these big mental shifts that you have that change the trajectory of your life and that of your families. And whether it ends up being great or not, it still ends up giving you this whole other perspective on life, which I think at the end of the day is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And today we have a very good friend of mine, Chelsea. She'll be joining us. And I've been able to watch her journey in co-parenting, and just very similar to kind of the story I shared with Brittany on one of our episodes, who I co-parent with. And we've had a lot of moms, who separation is big, divorce is big, it happens. And really seeing people kind of change the way that looks is, yeah. I feel like it's important to hear stories of families that are doing it different. It's not a war. They put their kids first. And so I had asked her to come on and share, and I'm excited because I've loved being able to kind of watch how they've done it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
So we'll bring Chelsea in.
All right. We'll bring her in just a second.
Okay, everybody. We have Chelsea Hale on. This is one of my dear, dear friends who I love very much. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking your time to come on. And thank you for sharing your story. I love you. And it's important that we share these stories. And I know for some, it's like a vulnerable space to talk about our lives and our kids and these kind of things. So thank you. We'll just get started.
Okay. All right, Chelsea. So what was your biggest F it moment since becoming a mama?
Yeah, I think that my biggest F it moment since becoming a mom, among many, has been the decision that I made collaboratively with my son's father to co-parent. I think the kids are calling it cooperative co-parenting. I don't know. I call it collaborative, close co-parenting. But yeah, really just kind of stepping a little bit outside of the norm that my generation or maybe like previous generations are used to when it comes to what divorce and separation looks like. A little bit less nasty and aggressive, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that is a very big thing to be able to do, because yes, I'm a product of divorce. I know Romy is too, but like the being the middle in between parents and then like using the children to exchange messages and all that, it's so, I mean, congratulations to you for not doing that.
Thank you.
I have to say too, Chelsea, like Chelsea was there right when I was going through my divorce, and it was really inspiring to be able to see how because she was like one of the first single moms like I met when I was coming out of it, and I was watching her dynamic with her family, and it was like at the tip of my divorce, and it was something that I was able to like visualize and not have ever really seen, and then follow, and it helped me see like what that can look like, and it's helped our family as well be able to have that. So like, it's good for us to see these, and it's good for us to hear about these. I didn't know it had a name like that. So
I Googled it because I knew there was something and I was like, what is it called?
It's interesting that kids call it cooperative, which makes
Yeah.
sense that a kid is like they're getting along, but like for parents, we are collaborating, we're trying to work together. So it's funny that there's
Yeah.
the adult version and the
Yeah.
child version of it.
So I would ask you this, and like, what kind
It's
of
funny.
hurdles did you encounter as you guys are going through the transition of your family? Let's just say that your family's starting to change, it's starting to look different. And in a situation would you when you would normally be like we all grew up at war with each other, how did you get into this mental shift of going, I'm not going to do it that way?
It wasn't immediate. The first few months following, the dissolution of my marriage were traumatic and hard, just like, so many are. There was fighting and there was lawyers and there were all the things, right? And I think once the dust all kind of settled on that, I was able to reflect a little bit, get into therapy, and like really, remember that like my ego was what was really fueling this anger, right? Like it really came down to like F my ego. Like
Hmm.
me fighting for more time with my kid, me fighting for holidays, me being mad and angry and lawyering up and doing all of these things that was feeding my ego, sure. But it wasn't benefiting my child in any way, in any capacity. And I think, it's going to be different for every situation because there's times that you get a separation or a divorce and it's unsafe and like that you need that separation and it has to be that way and it should be that way and there should be that boundary. But in my situation, like my son's father is like, when we're specifically speaking about parenthood, like an incredible father, an incredible dad. He shows up in all of the ways Romy knows. Like he is
Yeah.
just like, there's nothing to complain about when it comes to him being a dad. And so all I was really doing was feeding my ego and taking from my son. Like I don't want to take from my child. Like, he has nothing to do with this divorce. So that was really like the revelation that I came to, like just letting it kind of settle and thinking about like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like this is so selfish, you know?
That's like one of the biggest things that I said too, going through that. And you said it is, I'm so glad you said that, Chelsea, because it is ego. It really, at the end of the day, when it is two good parents that just want to love their kid, it becomes our ego of who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to win. And it does hurt our kids. And I always said, you remember this, like, I love my kid more than I dislike my kid's dad. Like, I love my kid more than I dislike this situation. And that's hard to get to.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really hard to get to and it's hard to wrap your head around. But once you do it, it's almost like this like peace comes over you, right? Like, oh, I was literally just putting myself through hell. Like, why? You
Yes.
know, like
Yes.
why?
Yeah, because I think like a lot of people have it in their head that if they do kind of just like step back and allow for things to just be like, well, it's gonna be what it is. I think a lot of people feel like they're losing against that partner, like you know
Mhm.
what I mean. And I think that's the big issue with the ego is like I'm losing, they're winning. Like I think that's got to be part of it.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, it also takes both sides to be on board
Mhm.
with this, right? Like if I would have come into it and been like, I want to collaborate with you in co-parenting. And if he would have been like, absolutely not, I hate you. Like this is like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like it wouldn't have worked, right? Like it was an effort moment for me for sure. And I think maybe he got there before I did, honestly. But I think that it really takes two. Like, this isn't something that just like one parent can decide this is how we're going to do it. And like, if the other one's not fully committed to that as well, then it's a wash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see how this like how has this impacted your child.
I think really positively. I think especially, I don't think he knows it now. But I think as he gets older and kind of grasps the situation and looks back on it, I think that he's going to have a huge appreciation that like his memories of Christmas and his birthday parties and like all of the things are never like, that was my Christmas with my dad. That was my Christmas with my mom. Like we have never missed a holiday together, and we've never missed a birthday together, including our own birthdays. Like we would all go out for family meals on our own birthdays together. We had a weekly family dinner every single week, like never missed it, whether or not we were on. I mean, we had an emotional roller coaster, right? But like, and we would put that aside because that weekly family meal had to happen and it had to be called a family meal because we were family.
That's amazing. That is really
I know, Carla, that's why I was like, it was really inspiring to watch because they really did like make it a priority and they never stopped. And like every school event and everything that he did, I was like, damn,
yeah.
there's like no matter what was going on with them, they were there.
Yeah. How long ago did you guys separate?
Um, it would have been Jude was 1 and he's 6 now, so 5 years ago.
Within those 5 years, have they so how many have been the collaborative?
So 4 years were like the collaborative co-parenting. About a year ago, spoiler alert, we decided to we were collabing so well together that we decided to revisit things. So we've actually been back together for a year, not under the same roof. But yeah, kind of that's one way this can turn out, but that was never the goal, you know.
I mean, I love that you said we were collaborating
Oh.
so well that like now now we're here. But you know what? Like that's also like a beautiful thing too, right? That like you don't know what that's going to look like and divorce doesn't always mean just divorce and it doesn't mean that that's the end all be all. Like we need to hear this more. People re-fall in love all the
Yeah.
time. But you've never lost your guys'
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a big part of, coming back together too, was having that conversation of like, okay, we've done so well not being together for Jude, like co-parenting well together. And then if we try this again, like how do we make sure that we hold on to this if it doesn't work out, right? Like that's really important. Like how do we
Mhm.
continue to always put Jude first? And not ruin all of the work that we've done to get where we are. So I feel confident that like we can both continue to do that because again, like F our egos, like that's what it's about.
Yeah. What fears come up for you when you say that? Like, if you guys were to maybe separate again, right? What fears do you have around keeping the momentum of this relationship going? Like this collaborative.
I I think the biggest thing, whether it were like fears about this not working out in the long run, or even just like fears going into co-parenting so closely, it's we're doing it because we don't want to f
Mhm.
our kid up, right? But like in doing it, will we f our kid up? Like, are we not showing him the correct boundaries? Is this confusing? Is he thinking, you know what I mean? He was 1, so like is his idea of what separated divorced parents look like skewed, and like is it giving him false hope? I think there was a lot of fear there for that. I think also, prior to getting back together, the fear in doing it was like, are we giving ourselves the space personally to move forward and like carry on with our lives not together in a romantic situation? Like, how do we do that when we are still so closely connected? And then outside of that, how do new partners feel about that? Because it's not for everyone.
I mean, yeah, just to think about you both dating too and being as close as you are, that's definitely a challenge for anyone coming into your guys' dynamic.
I mean, what were the emotions? Because you said that he probably came to the moment sooner than you did when it came to the collaborative. Like, what were you feeling at those moments when you finally decided to be like, okay, ego aside, let's do this.
I think it was truly just like calming down. I think that his personality versus my personality, like my baseline, I always say is like anxiety and emotional, and I react very emotionally. And he's a very like calm, just like it's really hard to like rile him up. And I think that it took me a long time to get to that space where it was like, this isn't the idea I had in my head, that like this isn't where I thought my life was going. And now it's all blown up in my face, and like I'm mad, you know? And it took me a while to come down from that and be like, okay, hold on. Like, it's just, I had to find peace with the situation and like stop blaming myself and stop blaming him, and really just, take a deep breath and be like, okay, like, here's what you have in front of you now. And like, it's gonna be okay. And it's gonna be even more okay if you just like continue to do this together, just in a different way. So I think it was really just like taking a deep breath and just calming down, you know?
Yeah. I'm curious. This is a random question, but I'm curious to know how how collaborative is it? And I'm assuming it is with your family and his
Yeah.
family? Like, is everything copacetic? Like, is everyone cool? Or is there still some, some on some side, some on the other, but you guys just push it aside?
Yeah, when it comes to, like, our family, the whole time it's been completely collaborative. Like, I spent Thanksgivings like, we would travel to different states with his family and still stay under the same roof, and they would just make sure I
Oh,
had
that's
my own
so
room or whatever, and, like,
exciting.
it was just
Oh, that's
This is like an alien family. Like, this is like an alien planet. Like, I have not
I
met
know.
anybody else aside from you, Romy, and that's insane. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both are just very lucky in that we have the most supportive families that, like, loved each other anyway, and, like, also just understood that, like, shit
Yeah.
happens and, like, that's okay, and the most important thing is forgiveness and family
Yes.
first, and, I think we're just really, really lucky in that. I mean, I'll say, like, when it comes to my chosen family, right, like, friendships and, like, those relationships, there were a lot of opinions that weren't necessarily that supportive. And I won't speak for him because I don't know what his friends were saying about me, or continue to say about me. But like, there were opinions that were like, "Why are you doing this? You're gonna fuck up your kid. Like, you can't do this." And for me, it was just like, well, it's not
Yeah.
your situation. You know what I mean? And like, I lost friendships in that, or I got further away from friendships because of that. But I guess it kind of helped weed out some of the bad ones too. Like,
Oh, 100%. And I
Oh,
think it's important to say for
totally.
anyone who is like going through a divorce, because we have been through this and I have created that type of co-parenting relationship. And it has been because I've seen it in front of my face, right? I saw it happen. I didn't grow up with that. But, my daughter and her dad, like I'm close with his family. We're spending Christmas together this year. We don't miss a birthday. Like that's how we do things. We show up to everything together. We had his partner on here and talked about this subject because it's important to me. And it's important for women to hear that, like, if people are telling you how to do your divorce or what that is supposed to look like, at some point you have to silence that out and figure that out for yourself. And only us as moms know what's best for our kids. Like, really, that's what we need to be listening to, and you did. And your kid, I watch him, is just thriving with love. He doesn't have a war. He's not battled and chosen between whose home is what. And I mean, divorce happens. It's one of the biggest things out there. Let's not ignore that it happens, and let's be more prepared for what that's going to look like. Everybody prepares financially for what everything's going to look like when people get divorced, but nobody's like prioritizing like what that relationship's going to look like aside from money. Like, if things go wrong, this is our agreement for our kid. It's
yeah,
important.
yeah,
um
totally. And it comes
Mhm.
down to, again, just like, f your ego. You know what I mean? Like, just how you've got to put the kid first, and that means not putting yourself first in this specific situation. I'm not an advocate for
yeah,
not putting yourself first, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, when it comes to this, like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, this is a very yeah, like when it comes to this particular thing, like
Yeah.
your kid is going just like me. I fucking remember that. Like it's ingrained in you for the rest of your life, like how your parents, dealt with each other. So
Such
you
a
are
gift.
giving a gift to your son, both of you. Yeah, it's such a gift to be
Yes.
able to be adults because he will grow up to have these kinds of relationships. And that's awesome. Hopefully he will not need the amount of therapy that we have needed.
yeah,
We all have had to go through. I mean, one of the
yeah,
biggest things with like the separation for me, and this has to go with that, is I never want to had my kid like see us at war talking bad to each other, because I know what that did for me, watching my parents just destroy each other and make me choose which side was the right side, and being torn between a war that I was just a kid. I just want to go to school and want to decide what parents better, you know. So when you separate, hopefully you're separating so that that dynamic is better. And most of the time people separate and they're still at war with each other. It's like, you could have just stayed together and kept fighting. You're just going to destroy the kid together or destroy the kid not together. So if you're going to separate, make that commitment, right? Like, to make it better for the kid,
yeah,
because what's the point?
yeah,
Yeah, totally. But it sounds like you and your ex-husband have gotten to a place of massive self-awareness, which is not a place that a lot of people get to. And like you said, it's the ego that overrides absolutely everything. So good on you for having gotten there, because not a lot of people have.
And that is an effort moment. This
Yeah.
is what we talk about on here. Because even when we were talking, Chelsea, and you're like, I don't know if I've had some big effort moment. They're like little mental shifts as women, as moms, that we go, I'm going to F and go this way. It's like a total shift in the way you wanted to fight, you wanted to argue, you wanted to win, right? And then that moment happens, and they're powerful. It changed everything for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that too, like when you go through these things, these separations, like a lot of that fighting and like that ego driven stuff is, again, like you want to win, like you want redemption, right? But I think I found redemption in being able to be like, I'm strong. Like I can still be best friends with this person and care about this person and show my child an example of like a different way to love your parent, like a different way for your parents to love each other. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be romantic. And, you know, there's redemption in that, like being able to say like, I don't have to like, you know, take someone to court and take them for all they're worth
Yeah.
to win. Like I'm winning by, you know, creating a happy, safe environment for my
Yes.
child.
I
You know?
100% agree. And I feel the exact same way. And you know that, and you've watched that as well. Um, my last question then to you is like, what advice would you give? I'd say to your past self, but I feel like I want to ask you in this sense, like, what advice would you give to a mom right now that is going through a divorce and her ego is in the way? Like, what would you say to her?
Um, I would say breathe, let the dust settle. It gets better. Um, for a while, it feels like the world is just moving around you and nothing's changing for anyone, even though your entire life just blew up. And like, if you just breathe and like take a second, like, and you know, communicate and like respect yourself, but respect your ex partner as much as you can, and like just, you know, take some time, like write down what you want your family to look like in this situation, and like just manifest it, you know, and like communicate. Um, yeah, I mean, breathe. I didn't breathe for so long, you know?
I think it's so good. Yeah. And that is it, Chelsea. And we've all seen it. Like the emotions are high in a divorce. You're hurt. You're scared. There's fear. You're worried about what's going to happen to your child. And I've seen and we've seen so many of the people around us who've gone through this, right? Just be wrapped up in that ball of, and it's like, yes, just breathe. The dust is going to settle. And when it does settle, what's most important to you? What is your vision of your family right now? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to consistently keep putting your ego aside, because things will continue to trigger where you want to win, and they will continue to trigger through a divorce where it's a war, and it becomes a tool, right? Like it becomes your tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an endless cycle if you don't get out of it. Like you will just, you know, survive on threats. Like, and that's just so unhealthy. Like if you're just like threatening this and this and this and this and like fighting constantly, like it's just, you're not going to win in the end. And your kid is certainly not going to win. And so,
And also, you're just going to be so
so
bitter.
bitter, so miserable.
And I say
Yeah.
that because unfortunately that's my mother. Like she, even my father from his grave, she's still like,
Yeah.
it's just sad. So nobody should go
No,
through
you
that.
lose your
So
life. You lose your life. You waste all the energy on your life, right? Being angry at someone for taking your life. Well,
yeah,
it's your responsibility to recreate your life. That's your power. And we don't lose our lives
literally.
unless we allow
Yeah.
somebody to like steal them from us. And you did a really beautiful job of recreating what your life looked like. And in that, you guys have found love again,
Mhm.
right? And whatever that journey looks like, also like that's another F it moment. And that's a whole nother episode of saying like F it, I'm
Another
gonna
episode.
try this again, and like that's a whole nother like story. So that's you. And Carla and I say this every time. Like once you say F it, you just kind of keep saying F it to new things. You're like, well, fuck it, I'll try something new. Like, fuck it, that worked. I'll try this. And good for you. You're not gonna hurt your kid showing your kid love. It's just not how it works.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that, because that really was like an
I said
unbelievable story to hear how collaborative and cooperative you all have been. And that's just
Mm-mm.
really, you don't hear many of these stories at all. Like, you should write a book. You guys should like co-author a book.
Yeah, I'm like, we need more stories like
Gosh.
this.
Yeah, and like how to actually co-parent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Romy, are we doing this together?
Yeah, I mean, we both are doing it. We should have like a book on co-parenting because I'm really it's one of my, and I know you feel the same way, Chelsea. Like, it's one of the things I'm most proud of in my life. And if I ever look back, it's going to be that I was also able to put an ego aside and give my daughter this. We are planning our Christmas together. We're planning all of our it's beautiful, and I'm grateful. And yet, like Carla said, these stories need to be told more. I want more women to hear them, and I want it to become more of a normal than, oh my God, you get along. Like, one day I just want it to be like, yeah, like, I'm going to my ex's house, we're
Yeah.
having Christmas, and that's normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
shocking.
yeah. There's so much
Right.
talk.
Like, not like, oh
Yeah,
my God, like, it shouldn't be that way. So that's why I was like so grateful for you to share this. I appreciate you doing that. I know it's not, like I said, easy to just open up about your personal life, but it is helpful to other people hearing these stories. So, where can everybody follow you,
Yeah.
Chelsea? If you are open, if you have projects, if there's anything you want to share, this is an opportunity.
yeah. I don't have any projects.
Give them
um,
your Instagram.
other than just yeah, my Instagram is at the Chelsea Hale. And yeah, I'll try to come up with some exciting projects for people to follow, but right now it's just a lot of me and my kid.
2024, she's writing a co-parenting book. So
Romy,
we will
I'm
be writing
I'm
it.
Yeah.
co-parenting a book with Romy.
We're co-parenting a co-parenting book for you guys in 2024. So stay tuned.
Perfect.
All right. Well, this is where we say
Just
Just
F
F
it.
it.